The following podcast is being brought to you by the Defy Life Podcast Network.
Welcome to Aftergate, powered by the Defy Life Network.
Are y'all ready?
Aftergate is a podcast series highlighting Colgate alumni of color in their professional endeavors aftergate.
Are y'all ready?
Aftergate is hosted by Alvin Glimpf, aka Al, and Herman Dubois, aka Jerry.
Are y'all ready?
We are doing Aftergate because Colgate University has produced innovators who have changed the world every day, yet many alumni of color and the mainstream Colgate community are unaware of the amazing accomplishments of alums of color.
Are y'all ready? Welcome back to Aftergate Season 2. This is your boy, Alvin Glimpf, and I am the co-host of the podcast Aftergate, and it is good to be here. I have amazing energy and looking forward to this conversation as we come out of the reunion at Colgate. And so looking forward to chopping that up. But before I get there, let me check in with my co-host, introduce my co-host, Mr. Herman Dubois. What's going on, brother man?
What's good? Can't complain. It's midweek, so everything from this point on is downhill.
Yes, sir.
And just try to ease into the weekend as gracefully as I ease into the.
It's a beautiful thing. Is it hot down there in Miami? It's like blazing up here in Georgia, like 98 degrees today. So how y'all doing weather-wise?
Yeah, high heat, a lot of humidity. This is where cats are definitely running from their AC central air home, AC car, central air office. Unless you're a beach goer, into the water sports, which is amazing time to be on the ocean. Probably the only place where one should be right now. But yeah, it's classic summer in Miami.
Okay, that's what's up. Speaking of classic, I definitely got to give a shout out to the classic Colgate reunion that we just had, and this is the first podcast since the reunion. Definitely come in with a lot of energy, having connected with some of the folks that were on campus when we were there, some of the folks that we have just met as this alumni color journey has progressed. We had 13 Aftergate guests on campus for the reunion. Shout out to that number 13 for all those know what it is. But all in all, man, it was a great weekend. I think the alumni colors showed out. They were celebrating their 35th anniversary. Reception that was a toast to Dean Hucks as she leaves the Harvard was awesome. It was great to see a packed house in the Cultural Center. And then we also had an opportunity earlier that day to reimagine what alumni colors going to look like. So that was awesome. And then even Friday, let me shout out one of our previous guests, Tanae Redmond, because that Friday night, dude, we had a DJ from the Universal Hip Hop Museum spinning, people getting their dance on. So shout out to Tanae for making that happen. Shout out to JP Ortiz, another previous guest who did a session on their initiative in Costa Rica. So reach out to JP if you want to learn more about that. But all in all, man, over 2,800 alumni returned on campus. So great to see folks. And for those who don't know, who might be new to the show, let me just remind folks that Aftergate is a weekly podcast where we interview alumni of color from Colgate. The whole objective is to highlight their accomplishments after graduation. But we got one of the people who was on the campus who's going to be a guest this week. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce that brother, bring him in so we can get this party started and also hear his thoughts on how the reunion. Aftergate Network. Let's officially bring into the podcast brother Carlton Walker. What's going on, sir?
What's up? How is everybody?
Doing good, man. Doing good. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm still recovering from a very fun reunion. Everything you said thus far has been spot on. So it's been absolutely great, though, and it was great seeing everybody that weekend.
Same here. Perfect weather. Got to get some boss wings and taters while I was up there.
I know it was a personal victory for you, Al, because you had your partner roll with you at the Colgate, and I want to give her a big shout out and much love because I know her journey, and I can say that I was able to witness it, and excited about reconnecting.
Yeah, no doubt. Definitely, I have shared on this podcast that she has disengaged in the past from Colgate. That was actually her first time back in 30 years since she graduated. It was her 30th reunion. Good to see some of the healing begin, and hopefully that will be the beginning of her re-engagement. Like many of us, we talk about that quite often on this show. It's a journey for many of us as we heal from that time, and everybody's experience was different. So she's on the way back, is what I hope.
They're still amazing though.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, good to have you here, Carlton, man. And in typical Aftergate fashion, I definitely want to reflect on the first time we crossed paths. And ironically, us crossing paths had to do with me being on the Alumni Council.
Yeah, Alumni Council.
Me being on the Alumni Council. And up there for my first on-campus meeting, sat down with Harry Horowitz. Harry is a really good dude. And we sat down, we had a conversation as we were just kind of getting to know each other. And I mentioned Aftergate. And as I talked about what the purpose was, you were somebody that he highly recommended that I get on the show.
I mean, I gotta give some love to Harry. I was at Delta Upsilon while I was in school, played football, of course, and Harry's been a huge supporter of the football team. So I got a chance to know him, I think, when I was in school, and then I've kept up with him afterwards. One of my teammates and very close friends, Greg Kafaf, is now his son-in-law.
Oh, wow.
And so Harry has always been there, and just love catching up. So that I'm not surprised. He's always around Colgate. Like you talk about Colgate, somebody knows Harry Horowitz. So shout out to Harry as well. Really, I love that story.
Yeah, he was very passionate about you, definitely passionate about Colgate, and has actually become a listener of the podcast. Good to learn more about that connection. So that's what's up.
That's cool.
What's up. Let's talk about when you come in to know about Colgate, the time before Colgate, right? So you graduate 2010 is the year you graduated?
2010, I graduated from Colgate, yeah.
So that means you're graduating high school 2006. So give us a sense of what life is like for you, life is like in the world, if you can remember what's going on in that time, and also give us a sense of how you even heard about Colgate.
Man, I I barely remember 2006. It feels so long ago. I'm from Ohio originally, so growing up in Ohio, I didn't even know that much about Colgate, to be honest with you. I think the only things on my mind at the time were keeping my parents happy, playing football, and I think finishing up basketball season my senior year, and then finding some place to call home for the next 4 years. So for me, not a whole ton was going through this brain of mine. I would love to tell you that I was thinking about this, thinking about that. I don't even remember what happened that year. But I just remember having fun. It's senior year is a cool time for everybody. You have friends, people that you're going to be matriculating to a different state, most likely, which I had a good feeling that was going to be true for me. But it was just about hanging with them, making great memories, and just loving life. It was an easier time back then. I don't know what happened, how life comes at you so fast, but it was a way easier time then.
It's called adulting.
It's called it is called adult. Like, I'm an adult now. I'm 34, and I don't know how that happened. I still feel like I'm that spry 18-year-old kid going to Colgate, then at that time. But again, it was just about family and friends back then, and it was just a great time in my life that I'll never forget.
That's what's up. So give us a sense of what life is like in your high school. What type of high school did you go to? You said you're from Ohio. What city are you from?
Oh, I'm from Columbus, Ohio. I mean, most people that know me, I always rep Columbus. So, uh, shout out to Ron Ransom, a Colgate alum that also is from Columbus. But the high school that I went to was a private high school,
Okay.
and so we were small. I think we had a total of around 800 kids or so when I graduated from K through 12. So it was tiny, maybe
Wow.
closer to 1,000.
Wow.
So, but it was cool. My dad and my uncle graduated from that high school.
Okay.
So to be a legacy, wasn't the first legacy, Black legacy at the school, because my sister took that. She was 4 years older than me, but my oldest sister, I have a middle sister, and myself were lucky enough to also call that home for a few years. I went in 8th grade; they went for high school,
Hmm.
and so graduating from there was a special place. So I knew the reins. It was cool having some of my dad's teachers. My English teacher, Mr. Morin, was my dad's teacher. Took him to Mexico when he was a 17-year-old, and so I had him for English and reading Beowulf and all this stuff. Again, that's not going to be the most interesting part of my story, I promise. But it was a place that actually helped me quite a bit, just from a tough curriculum, uh, two-sport athlete, even though probably could have done third sport, but I trained for football during that time. And then also, there was some diversity, but it wasn't as diverse. And so, as many people who are probably listening to this, when you're not a non you're when you're a diverse individual in a non-diverse place, there are only a couple ways you can go. You can either kind of learn how to talk the talk, or kind of feel like an outsider. And for me, it was a weird time getting to know myself in that moment, and being there. But at the same time, it really prepared me for Colgate, in my eventual transition, to the school. But shout out Columbus Academy. It was a really great 5 years that I attended the school. Have some great friends from there too. But also, we didn't play bad football, which was really helpful to prepare me for college football.
So does the football experience put you on the radar of Colgate? Are they searching for you? Y'all winning? How does Colgate become part of the journey?
So it's actually an interesting story. My dad was the one who introduced Colgate to me. So believe it or
Shout
not,
out to
there's this
Pops.
book back. Shout out to Pops, Charles Walker. He would read. So again, back then they had books, right? For our listeners who don't remember those, audiobooks are so big now. They had books back then, especially one called Princeton Review, which outlined every university and college in the US. And my dad religiously read that front to back. Why anyone would do that, I don't know. But he loved it. From the time my sister was looking at schools, from the time that I was going to college, he read that front to back, knew everything about every college, university, and anything I might be interested in. And so when I'm thinking about playing football in college, I thought I was more of a D3 player. So I was looking at some of the small D3 colleges in Ohio. But what my dad did was he actually wanted to be very involved. And so when my college advisor, who was my basketball coach, shout out to Coach Jones. He's now an administrator at Harvard Westlake out in LA. When he came back to me with a list of 200 schools that I might have a chance to play at based off of academics and level, he gave me that piece of paper, and I took it back to my dad. And I was so excited that night that I got home, because it was the first time I saw these names, and I'm like, wow, I could go to this school or that school. And so I remember telling my dad, and he said, let me see that list. He takes a look at that piece of paper, and he asked me politely to go get his red pen. And as a lawyer, I know that red pens don't generally mean anything good. And so I get him a red pen. He looks at that paper and he just starts marking things off. Nope, 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 nope. Based off of that list, it went from about 200 to maybe 15 to 17 colleges once everything was said and done. So I took that piece of paper back to my college, my college counselor. Coach Jones, and my dad asked me to set some time with him, which we did. My dad was in the building the next day. We sat down and we talked about those 15 schools. And the coolest part about it, though, was because of his knowledge of Princeton Review, once we were going through some of them, adding a few more that we wanted to send tapes to, he brought up this school, Colgate. Now, y'all are probably going to know that terrible joke that we've all made once in our life. We say, oh, like the toothpaste.
Oh, yeah.
I was that guy. I was that guy. So I made that joke. And he said, no, like they played pretty good football. I saw them on the national television, a couple weeks ago. You should give them a look. And I said, okay. So my college coach sent VHS tapes, if you can remember those, VHS tapes to all those colleges that were on that list. And Colgate was actually the first one to get back to me. Another quick story. We had 2 phone lines. I don't know if y'all remember, but telemarketers were big. They used to call you your phone all the time. If your number was in the white pages, you were getting a call. And so my parents set up 2 phones and put the secondary phone in the white pages so that if someone wanted to look us up, they had to call that phone. That phone rings, don't pick it up. Well, one day after we sent out these tapes, I got that phone. The phone rang. I remember it. It was across the house, but I heard it go off, and for some reason it said something in the back of my head said, pick it up. Well, I run over, I pick up, and on the other line I hear, is this Carlton? This is Coach Moreau from Colgate. And the rest is history. I think I was on campus a month later. I saw how beautiful the campus was, fell in love immediately, had a very fun night on my official visit. And like I said, it was the only official visit that I went to, met some great people, and eternally grateful that I had the opportunity to make it to Colgate and play football and go to school here.
Good stuff. Good stuff. How'd y'all do football wise?
We were pretty good. Freshman year, not so much. Had a lot of seniors that had left the year before. So we were a little depleted on the talent, but I think we ended up 4-7 that year. But then the following year, 7-5. Following year after that, 9-2. Following year after that, 9-2 as well, I believe. Or maybe junior year, 9-3. So we had some really good teams my last 2 years. Probably should have made the playoffs our senior year. Watched a couple plays that I don't really want to talk about, but overall it was a great team, a great group of guys that again still very close with today.
Gotcha.
I'm curious, what position did you play?
I played defensive line. Luckily, my voice, you can't tell how large I was just from the pure bass of my voice, but I was a D line. I played interior and got to mix it up in that way.
Was it a big transition from high school ball to D1 ball? I mean, you mentioned that you thought you were really D3 talent. So when you got to Colgate, what was? I'm curious because I played baseball for 4 years at Colgate, and I've got my own student athlete story and so forth. But did you think it was what you thought it would be like playing at the D1 level?
Yes and no. I think going in for any student athlete, going into college isn't going to be intimidating no matter what. You don't know what to expect. I remember that summer, I worked so hard just to get a little bit faster, get a little bit stronger, get a little bit bigger. I got this pamphlet of different exercises they wanted me to do while I was at home. And I had no idea if I was doing it right or not, but you just worked hard. And I just remember working so hard just to see if I would have a shot to play that year. Again, lucky enough for myself, I did. I was able to move up the charts pretty quickly. And, that was always a highlight that I'll keep and am humbled by, that hard work. But, I think I expected, great competition. I expected to have fun. I expected that, the team would be successful, and all those things came true. So, it was a lot of what I expected, but those guys were big, in college. Like at times they were big. Like at times I didn't realize how big I was. I I look back at pictures of myself and I'm like, what were you doing? Like, was I all I was doing eating 24/7? If I asked my mom, I think she'll tell me the answer was yes.
Okay.
So it's just funny to see yourself in that way, because it's just a different level of competition. One double A ball is no joke. And man, I just loved it. But it was to be expected. Some things were new for me, but you kind of take it in stride. You learn, you grow, and it was just a wonderful experience.
So as you transition to student life off the field, obviously athletes have a unique element of engagement because of the camaraderie that comes with teammates. But off the field and outside of football, what was the transition like to Colgate your first year? Where'd you live? What was being an athlete, being a student of color? All those kind of variables often affect folks' first year in transition into Colgate life.
Yeah, we got there, I think 3 weeks early before the rest of the school, which was good for someone like myself. I'm a people person. I like being comfortable, knowing others, all those things. But I can talk to anybody. But going through camp 2 days with other people, you kind of get instant friends, and that was super helpful to someone like me. But then transitioning to academically, though, I kind of forgot. College is a bit tough. You have a lot of free time, and people aren't telling you what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I loved having that freedom, but I also, admittedly, it was a little tough, kind of getting acclimated to what was now new academic rigors. I remember my freshman year, I signed up for my 4 classes. I had my freshman year seminar.
Mm-hmm.
But one class, I just wasn't gelling with me at the time, whether I was so focused on football or whatever it is, but it just wasn't gelling with me. I actually dropped a class. And so it was during that time, I was a little bit embarrassed and such. And I had a second class that, I really liked, but I was like, I don't know if I understand this. And I had to ask for a tutor. And so that transition, that first semester was actually pretty tough for me, because I just kind of felt like things were piling on quickly, and I didn't know kind of how to slow it all down. But the best thing I ever did was I went to office hours with my professor, which eventually became my advisor.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked, do you have someone you think could tutor me? And she said, absolutely. And so she found me a tutor. I met with that tutor. And just by that extra, couple hours that we spent together, I was able to figure out, oh, this isn't as hard as I'm making it out to be. And then things slowed down. So I had the 3 classes that semester. I made up, a class later in my career, which actually ended up being my best semester ever. And it was a really good lesson for me. But man, that first semester was hard. It was fun. We had a lot of fun, a lot of partying. Probably, if my mom listens to this, I don't know if she'll like hearing that, but a lot of partying. But it was all great, and I took it in stride. But academically, man, it was a tough transition.
That's what's up. So thinking about that, when you look at your 4 years, what would you refer to as some of your accomplishments, some of the highlights, things that you're very proud of when you look at your 4 years there?
I'm proud of the perseverance. Coming from multiple states away, not having family anywhere near, taking 8 hours to drive home during the breaks. There are times you can feel lonely. It's very easy to feel lonely at Colgate, even though we are such an amazing community. It is easy to start to feel lonely. And there are those times where you're like, where are my people?
Mm-hmm.
But luckily you have those friends, you make those friends, and then luckily they're lifelong friends. But that perseverance has always stuck with me. I'm proud of some of the ways I gave back to the school, whether it was, the student athlete committee that I was on. I was able to, play football, of course. I gave back in certain other ways. I worked at the library for a little bit. I was an admissions officer or admissions tour guide for a little bit. I did interviews in the admissions office. I didn't think I was going to lean in as much as I ended up doing by the end of my 4 years. And so some of those things are what, I absolutely love about my time. I can look back at them. And I just love the friendships and the network that I created. Colgate is a special place. We're around some special people for all 4 years, of all classes, not just those, the class that I'm in, but, all around us. And they're all doing amazing things these days. All of that, I look back and I'm like, man, it's just unreal how I met hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that, many of which I still can call friend today.
Yep.
Absolutely love that. Love that about this community and love this about this school. So yeah, those three alone are probably, some really big ones for me.
Awesome.
While I was in school.
So we're going to take a quick break on that note and give some love to our sponsor. And then we will come back and wrap up this conversation with Brother Carlton and also get a sense of what he has been doing since graduation. So this episode is sponsored by Hope Murals. Hope Murals is a nonprofit that provides adolescent youth with an interactive experience of creative expression via an urban arts platform that stimulates both mental and physical development. Please visit their website at www.hopemurals.org to learn more and find ways you can support the work they do. Welcome back. We are jumping into the second half of our interview with Brother Carlton. But before we do that, let's make sure we thank our sponsor, Hope Murals. HopeMurals.org. Check them out. We appreciate what you're doing. So make sure you check out their website to learn more about what they're doing in terms of exposing our youth to urban arts and helping them be better people. Check out Hope Murals. If you're interested in being a sponsor, check us out at aftergatepodcast@gmail.com. Always make sure you show love to our network. Check out their website. The Defy Life Network's website is www.godefylife.com. Check out their website. You'll find out some interesting and empowering, relevant written content. If you want to hear more dope podcasts like Aftergate, check out their podcast hub at defylifepods.com. Check out my other podcast, One Eye Shut, shameless plug. That's what it is. You can hear Aftergate on all of your major podcast streaming services. So from Apple Pods to Spreaker to Spotify, iHeart, we are on them all. So show us love. I think we are good to go. So let me pass the mic to my man Jerry Dubois so he can kick us off on the second half of this conversation.
Yes, sir. I just want to give a super shout out to Chev. I know that she's been putting work in. I remember when she first came on in leadership role. I heard from her ASAP, and I was like, "Who's this Chev sister?" And I was like, "Okay." So I've kind of witnessed her involvement, her engagement, her leadership. So much thanks, Chev. We need you on the show. So I don't know what the reason was prior to, but there ain't no more reasons, no more excuses. Let's get you on the show. Let's get you signed up.
Hold up. For the record, and I'm saying this for the record, Chev officially owes me in terms of being on this show. We had a little transaction off the books, and part of what she was paying back was she was going to be a guest on the show. So I've already paid mine, so now she owes. All right, so that's on the record.
That's why you're my G. Okay, because you saw the opportunity and seized it. So with that being said, I can't talk too much smack because I wasn't at reunion, and I wish I had been there. Life circumstances didn't make it possible, but I really want to, let folks know that there's a lot of ways to re-engage with Colgate and the AOC, and just be intentional about recognizing that all we do is really just adding to the quality of life and the experience of the current students of color. And we all remember when we were on campus and what that felt like and what we had always aspired to have when we saw other alumni of color returning. So get involved. And with that, I really would love to get a perspective from Carlton as to maybe some of the things he's doing now, a couple of years out, his vision for the future. Just he was more than average in terms of involved while he was on campus in extracurricular activities, outside of football and academics. But now as an AOC, folk, share with us, Carlton, like sort of like what you've got going on, what's in the pot cooking.
Yeah, so I've had the pleasure of coming back quite a bit for sophomore connections when during January when they would bring back the sophomores. Actually over reunion, I met the person who actually concepted that idea and brought it up the chain to make that happen, and it's been an unbelievable opportunity for sophomores specifically to meet other alumni. And so I did that for a long time. Got involved with shout out Preston, excuse me, I probably should say his name. Got involved via the Alumni Council last year. Started doing some stuff with the Partnership for Racial Progress, which is a larger group of Colgate alum of color who want to see change and have been working with some of Brian Casey's cabinet to make some changes and to put a framework around how we can do things better, with the likes of Diane Ciccone, Leroy Cody, Leroy Potts, Chev, Mian Dingman, Chris Rivera. We all kind of put our heads together during COVID and said, how can we help the school during this time that not a lot's going on? And we've seen some great progress that the school has absolutely adopted on ways that we can continue to move the needle for people that look like you and I. And then after that, I was lucky enough to be invited to be on the Board of Trustees, which became official May of 2021. And so I get a chance to be up there and just kind of advise the school on ways, but also have a filter for people, again, that look like us, and making sure that this is an equitable and inclusive place for all. And so having that vantage point and kind of giving back in the different ways that I have in my short, 12 years of graduating from school, it's even evolved into even more. Over reunion weekend, I met with Dean of Students, Dorsey Spencer. And so he and I had breakfast. And we talked about some ways that we can really connect with some of the individuals of color that are currently at the school, because from a community perspective, the group brothers is been less engaged in years past. Some of the other groups on campus aren't meeting as much as they used to. How can we find ways to truly be a part of their journey and their experience while they're on campus as alum? And so the Men of Color Network came to fruition, which unfortunately I couldn't be in person that April, but I'm so proud of what I've heard came out of that. But we're already starting to concept some things that we can do with some of the students. So for example, Dorsey and I are starting to think about, maybe doing an event in New York City where, students can earn their way to a trip to meet with alums, potentially be sponsored by alums to get a tailored suit, right? And what that does to us, the confidence it gives us, a suit that is ours, that was built for us, and how that might empower us to do more, and also be prepared for our first interview. Because you go to Colgate, you're going to get an interview somewhere, right? You knock on enough doors, you say hello to enough people, you shake enough hands, you're getting interviews. And preparing these young gentlemen at the time, again, women, we're working on some other things, but specifically talking about the men here, just giving them that opportunity could be a lasting experience for all, including alumni, because I want to get a custom suit too. So that's an idea. But even other things that working with other alumni of color, where thinking of having an investment fund just for alumni of color from Colgate, and starting that network and finding new ways that we can invest together when given the opportunity. And what that could mean, for us long term, both as individuals, but also, maybe creating a much bigger pot for all to start to get an inside look into what that is. These are all things that whether affiliated with the school, specifically Dorsey, or thinking of some things outside of it with just people that I've met and I'm close with. We're constantly pushing the envelope on ways to do this better. one thing that I'm going to tell the group that's listening to this, consistently, continue to find those ways to invest. I definitely think that a recession is going to be announced here probably in the next couple of months, but where many feel that that's time to slow down, it's a great opportunity to speed up. I'm not telling anybody to over leverage themselves, but if you had your eyes on a house, if you had your eyes on a specific investment opportunity, look into it harder. Don't get scared away from interest rates just because they're high now. They're not going to always be that way. There are options available to you to refi in the future and things of that nature. And so if you want to get that investment property, you want to get your first property, again, these are the times that it's good to get everything in, kind of in check and find a way to get out there, because if I would have taken this, that, I kind of got into my investment journey about 5 years ago. And if it wasn't for some friends kind of pushing me into that way, I probably would have never. And not saying that, I'm extra special at this point, but I'm definitely much more on my way than if I was sitting on the sidelines. And I'm always thankful, for that opportunity. So definitely, between giving back to the community and, finding ways to better ourselves, like, just kind of jump 2 feet in, and let's try to continue to do great things together where we can.
Facts. I definitely appreciate sharing those words of wisdom. I think a theme throughout all of your comments are invest. So invest in Alumni Color, invest in Colgate, invest in opportunities in your community, or whether it's real estate, stock market, whatever. It really does remind me of a comment a wise man once said, is that when people are nervous, that's when you should get greedy. And when people are greedy, that's when you should be nervous. But he really was trying to help me understand how the investing thing works, which is when people are doing all the investing, that's when you should kind of step back. But when people are nervous, that's when you kind of see what you can do and kind of get greedy and snatch stuff up. So I appreciate your comments. And also, I think when I appreciate the message of engaging with alums and students. I think when we were up there in April, it was obvious that the students were longing for an opportunity to engage with alums and getting inspired, offering hope. So actually, if there are any ever opportunities for Aftergate to get plugged in or what you're planning with Dorsey, we are definitely down for doing a live show somewhere, a podcast like we did in April on campus. And he was actually in the audience as well. And so something that's dear to our heart as well. So appreciate that. Appreciate what you do.
Absolutely. It's we're a family, whether we like it or not. We all bleed Colgate. And it's like finding those opportunities took me a while, but once I found them, they've all only turned into blessings. So definitely let's continue to find those ways.
That's what's up. So give us a sense of who you are now. How did you get there? Walk us from graduation from Colgate to who Carlton is, the man right now.
I barely know myself anymore. I feel like I've grown so much. I went from not really knowing what I wanted to do after school to taking my first job as a teacher. I was an assistant teacher. It was a fellowship position, kind of like Teach for America, but with a specific school in actually right outside of Atlanta in Norcross at Wesleyan School. So, and that just kind of, I honestly think it changed me in some of the best ways, because that 1 year just kind of taught me how important and critical it is to communicate. Even though I'm probably going to get blasted by some of my friends for saying all my ums and likes, I do still recognize how important it is to sit in front of somebody and be able to teach them and to understand their learning style and maybe mold what you're saying and how you're saying it to give someone else that opportunity. That was always a really profound lesson that year that I did it. And then eventually I got into sales. And in my sales journey, I've sold everything from health insurance. It was group health and dental at Cigna Healthcare. I got that first job through a Colgate connection.
Colgate.
Eventually moved into technology sales, which multiple of those jobs, did a marketing platform, worked at an HR company, a website, Indeed.com for a little bit. And then I went to another smaller startup that was focused on diversity hiring. And almost all of them were a Colgate connection there too. So Colgate family has always continued to be near and dear to me as I move forward. But where I am now, I'm now in cybersecurity. I moved down to Austin, Texas in 2017. That's where I am now, and got into cybersecurity. It's a world that I think everybody hears about, knows the importance, but doesn't always know how to get in.
Mm.
And I'll raise my hand. I didn't really know how to get in either. I saw a job opportunity of a product that I used to use at a previous job. And I said, oh, that was always a cool technology. Let me see what this is about. Again, lucky enough to get that role, and it changed my life forever. And so I've been in cybersecurity since 2017. I'm now managing a team for a company called Expel Security. And I got to tell you, it's been the most beautiful, hard journey at times. It's been humbling at times.
Mm.
But, the one thing that Colgate taught me is that we're really smart and we're really resilient.
All right.
And, I just think that that continues to be true at all times. Even when I'm at my most stressed, usually I've probably done something harder at some point. And getting that memory, you kind of persevere and continue on. I know a lot of people here with us probably, I would assume, feel the same. And it's cool to go to school that kind of teaches you that rigor. And again, 12 years later, I think it just shines, almost on a daily basis, sometimes weekly basis.
Nice. So if you in reflection of the journey and all that, you attribute to sort of the characteristics that evolved and developed via the Colgate experience, could go back in time and meet Carlton coming out of Columbus, Ohio at 17, 18 years of age, what words of wisdom, what advice would you give to that 17, 18-year-old Carlton going into Colgate, and what might that look like, what it might sound like, what might you do different, or what might you do the same, and then what would also be that those guiding principles leaving Colgate, entering the world, now that you reflect on your post-Colgate experience?
Yeah, I think the one thing I would definitely have told my younger self would be to lean in even more. I felt like I did a good amount on campus, was a part of different organizations, but I definitely feel that I could have leaned in even more. There's the undergraduate programs that Colgate offers, the internships that are just around the corner, the jobs that you can get on campus, whether we like it or not. Who likes to work, but you can get a lot of great experience. And I would have told that younger self to definitely lean in more. When you think you can't do enough, maybe try one more thing. Because I often find myself wondering, well, what if I would have learned this aspect of the campus or this aspect of the university, so on and so forth. So definitely would have talked to that younger self about that. I think I would remind them that this community is only as good as what you give back. I think Alvin had a really, really good, example with his wife that, this place unfortunately hasn't been made for the entirety of Colgate's experience. And it's taken people a long time to come to grips with that. And I often kind of tell myself, because I had such a great experience at Colgate, well, how can I make that true for no one else moving forward? What can I control? What can I do to make sure that no one feels this way? I don't know that I can make sure that no one feels that way, but I can for sure make sure that one person feels better because maybe I'm giving a little bit more back and such. So that's why I do what I do. That's why I give back. That's why I care so much about the university, because there are a lot of people who were in our shoes, but specifically my shoes. And so, but it's only as good as we give back. This school, as much as we want them to know our email automatically, know our phone numbers automatically, they're not mind readers. But now that we're starting to voice some of this is where I was still hurt. This is where trauma lived. This administration is more willing than ever before to hear you and to say, all right, let's start to build bridges. That's really cool. So I would just say, just knowing the people I know, meeting the people I've met, and just saying hello to others has been probably the one best thing that I ever did while I was on campus. And again, it's helped me get to where I am, and I'm sure going to continue to help me to get new heights. So I just love this place.
Appreciate that, man. I think that message just needs to be really listened to. So listeners, rewind that last minute or so and really listen to what he said. I hate to give too much promo to people, but I definitely want to shout out President Casey in that.
Yes.
I think for those who've had previous presidents and are just putting their previous president experience on this dude, I would highly recommend you take some time to engage and get a sense of who he is and where he's coming from. Just definitely a different perspective, definitely different vision of Colgate. And I think it is permeating amongst the cabinet and staff on campus. So shout out to President Casey and what he got going on, because just a different energy that he's bringing to the campus. So shout out to that dude. Brother Carlton, before you get out of here, I'd definitely love to give you an opportunity to promote any initiative, website, activity. That's what this is all about, that the Aftergate community can become more aware of how to engage with you or support anything that you would like to throw out there. So just here's a platform. If there's anything you'd like to share, the floor is yours.
Man, that's a big platform, but definitely want to shout out a couple places, couple people. There's a lot of small businesses of people at Colgate, friends of yours.
Yes.
Find them, nurture them, like find a way to spend money with them where you can. Like, this is our community still, and these people are doing great things. On campus, I'm a huge proponent of the Maroon Council, but the Alumni Cultural Center, this third century plan is amazing. So I absolutely want to shout that out. Where we have an opportunity to give there, please do. The campus is in transition to make it a more equitable, inclusive place. So your money actually is going somewhere. My high school, Columbus Academy, there's a Charles H. Walker scholarship that helps to fill the gap for others. And that's been really, really amazing to see my father's legacy. My late father, he passed a couple years ago, but he was a huge fan of Colgate, huge fan of my friends on the football team. Shout out to Pat, Zach, Paul, Greg, Austin. Used to love hearing about them, Brendan. So Uzi, it's just nice to have parents and family along the journey with you. And so at my high school, that's something that I definitely want to shout out. And then giving a big shout out to JP Ortiz. Start to look for this brother, because he's out in Costa Rica, thinking of some really cool ways to bring wellness to the forefront in a really great way. So it's not fully matured yet, but Gate family, definitely take a look at what he's doing, because it's really cool. But other than that, man, just look after your friends, because again, this community is so beautiful, and there's a lot of us who are doing great things. Notice it, give back, show love. It's a great place.
My man, appreciate that, sir. So we're gonna wrap it right there and put a little bow on that. I appreciate your flexibility and willingness to be on this show. Thank you for all you are doing in the community as a whole, but also at the AOC, because you are at such a young age leading the pack. So appreciate that and your contribution to what we're doing at Alumni Color, brother. Straight up.
Thank you for the opportunity, guys. Appreciate
yes,
it.
sir. On that note, this has been another episode of After Gate Season 2. Thanks to our guests. Thanks to our listeners. As always, After Gate is powered by the Defy Life Network. Make sure you check us out in the future on all your favorite podcast streaming platforms. Hey, one last word. The Colgate we knew is not the Colgate of today, and it's certainly not the Colgate of the future. So let's engage and reclaim this campus as ours. On that note, peace, family.
Shh. You hear that? Listen closer. That, my friend, is the deafening sound of focus. It drowns out all the useless noise that can clutter the moment. Naysayers don't exist. Haters? Smaters? The peanut gallery? Who's that? When you in your zone, all that noise and all that buzz is just elevator music. So, enjoy your journey, focus on your goal, and bask in the quiet roar that is progress. Because when it's your time to shoot that shot, spit that verse, or close that deal, the only voice that matters is yours. Defy Life.